Oh, I like it though. I love it. I love bright
It's
colors.
more of a salmon than an orange.
Oh, well, hello, people. I have on the amazing, witty, smart AF Sierra, aka Exulansic. I'm not sure if I said that correctly, but
Yeah.
thanks for coming on again. I am stoked. I guess last time we left off on you mentioning at the very end there that you, I don't know how to word it because I don't want to offend you. You attempted to live as a man for I'm not sure how many years, but
about 4. Yeah. No, when I was at in undergrad at Judith Butler University, it was just kind of the thing to do. So everyone in my social circle was on somewhere like, I'm trans feminine, I'm trans masculine. And some people were, going on testosterone, other people were getting mastectomies. And it was just kind of like,
wow.
It seemed innocent enough at the beginning. Like, oh, what kind of stereotypes do I identify with? Well, that's interesting. I'm going to give myself permission to behave as I want to and free myself from the things you internalize when you're in your early 20s or have internalized that you need to work through.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I attribute the fact that I had therapeutic support and other factors and helping me actually think through, do I want to do anything permanent or am I really sure that this is going to be my vibe in 10 years? And then I went to grad school and just kind of like, it just stopped being important between therapy and between other concerns in my life. I just gradually kind of stopped caring. But does that answer your question or do you have other questions?
So you said you were able to get therapy, like mental therapy to walk through that then?
Yeah. No, I had sought that out since I got to college, basically, because I had been through some stuff growing up. So I basically had a therapist throughout, kind of intermittently because it was college, like 6 sessions a semester. But it helped to talk through it, like, and to kind of realize, wow, my recovery from my appendectomy was horrible. Maybe I don't want to like let a stranger carve things off of me for no reason.
Yeah.
Maybe that was this a bad choice?
Was this on campus therapist or just someone you had been seeing?
I was on campus. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was through student health insurance. And then this was probably 2007 starting. And then the trans identification was more like 2009. And then I kind of got into that in part because I had met someone in the feminist theory class that focused a lot on Butler's work. And Butler is, again, not in the gender studies department, but the gender studies department's huge fans. And that made him realize that he was trans feminine. And that made me feel like, oh, well, then I must be the complement of that. Otherwise we wouldn't want to be dating. Right. That makes sense. So, and it, just feels more comfortable if you feel uncomfortable dressing the way that you're expected to dress and feeling like you have a right to dress the other way. It's self-exploration. So
exactly. I think that's very common.
But I never had like a new name and pronouns weren't a thing. And the first time I encountered pronouns was 2014.
Wow.
It was not a thing at all, even very, very much in that zone until somebody had taken steps towards that.
Wow. 2014. That seems, to me, obviously it seems early, but
I was very much into grad school. You think that's early? That was the first time where it was like, we'll do the preferred pronouns and not out anybody.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense. So you didn't do the, name change. Not that you have to do a name change thing, but what were you doing to, what were you calling it? You didn't want to be a man, but it was what, masculine?
Kind of trans masculine, or trans mask is another term people use to kind of refer to themselves as trans men.
Is that the equivalent of a trans man though? Like that's different.
It depends which sect you're in. The different subgroups have different ideas about the relationship between trans mass being a trans. Like some people will put it on a spectrum before man, as like a man is an trans mask, and other people are like, well, you don't have to be masculine to be a man, so you could be a trans feminine trans man.
I don't even know. It's like breaking my brain right now. Like I want to understand. I get what you're saying. I've kind of like stepped away from the whole trans ideology. It was driving me mad. I'm going back into it, just logically thinking it through with you, and it's just like. I don't know how these people live. Obviously, like on a level where you're living a normal life. I'm just trying to keep up and like respect you and understand. But I'm like, it's breaking my own brain. They don't have like an opportunity to like focus on, I guess, what really matters in life. Not that obsessive.
Right.
It just seems so invasive and obsessive. And you had a great comparison yet again. We've always heard that comparison with anorexia of like they hyper focus on body
ex was
parts.
anorexic. She was anorexic. It was like
Yeah,
a new way to be that. And they're like, oh, well, it causes fat redistribution is the, so like, obviously that's going to appeal to somebody that has a preoccupation with fat. Like, I can go on anabolic steroids and have less body fat and look better without as much work. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Elliot Page is clearly anorexic.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Anorexic. Clearly going through some mental health issues right now.
Yeah, it's so sad to see, and so sad to see that she's being used for this medical. It's just wild. It's really, really depressing. This person needs serious psychological help. She needs people that are there, surrounding her. Yeah.
The fact that you're on testosterone and men on testosterone it doesn't mean that that's safe for a woman. It doesn't mean that it's good for you.
No. She needs good people who are surrounding her, obviously. I mean, we know that's not happening. I just feel like she's just being pushed and pulled as a pawn for this whole thing. I think these people can easily be convinced of things as well. Like, it does sound appealing to someone who is lost and maybe hasn't found their group in life or what they feel like, I guess they're feeling seen in life. I feel like these people are so easily swayed to do the trans stuff because it's love bombing. We know all that. It does provide that like family. Did you have like a group of?
It was a big group, and through the gender women studies department, and then kind of through just the general community, because it's in Berkeley as a Bay Area. There's a lot of such people. I think it wasn't. It was perhaps around the time that I was in graduate school and kind of outgrowing it, but I started to kind of see that a lot of the people in the community were just predatory, and that I was actually not in the same group as an older man that decided to transition when he was 45 to get his girlfriend back. I'm not actually in that category. We don't have the same condition. Just because it looks similar and you're older, it doesn't mean that I'm a younger form of you.
I know. That's also what's so interesting about it. The age thing, how different. I mean, of course it's going to be different. You've lived more of life if you're older. I mean, for obvious reasons like that. So were you like dressing? Like what were you doing in your life to
I was like
fit
wearing
that
a
role?
binder, wearing kind of men's clothes. I had short hair, styled it like male. And it was just like, it wasn't that I was asking people to think of me that way. It was more just like, this is how I wanted to present.
Yeah.
And if somebody read me this or that way, that was interesting. But people did treat me differently.
Did you get mad? What did that make you feel?
No, I didn't care. Other people weren't a part of my like mental landscape in that way. I didn't feel entitled ever like that. It was
so
just,
you never, if someone
I wanted to be left alone.
Yeah, that's interesting. If someone were to ask you, are you a trans man? Like, obviously it's probably people don't ask that shit in that community. It's probably insulting. I don't know. I'm literally clueless. Would you say yes or no?
I would say yes if somebody directly asked. And I did have a few people that I had conversations to about that at the time. It were kind of like coming out conversations, but it wasn't something like where I'm literally a man.
Right.
Me as a man.
Right.
Or the inference that because I radically changed my appearance and then people treat me differently, that doesn't mean that they were treating me the first way because I'm a woman. That's not what that means. It just means I changed my appearance and people treated me differently. It's not necessarily a woman-man thing. It's a changing your appearance thing.
Did you find people did? Oh, did you find that people did treat you differently?
If I had short hair, yeah. And was
like your group of people, like a group of friends or people that that aren't involved in that?
More random people.
Okay.
Like did I get that were people trying to talk to me more than they used to or this or that? But like weight gain and weight loss also will affect that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it is interesting, but you can't like predict and control how other people will react to you. You can just kind of observe.
Yeah. And understand that, that they're saying, maybe they're confused, this whole thing of like expecting people to know what your pronoun is of the hour. It's just, it's not realistic. Unfortunately, it's just, I'm constantly, when I think about it, I'm just sad for these people because there's obviously being sold an incredible lie. I guess a really devious, really well-constructed lie. It's being sold everywhere. It's trendy. It's cool. It's unique.
A lot of powerful groups to have these policies. Benefits, for instance, management, employers, because now they have a reasonable pretext to fire people for illegal reasons. by saying they were creating a hostile environment for the transgender person.
Yes. Yep. True.
Elimination of the ability to measure discrimination and, wage discrimination, for instance, for women, because now male wages are being grouped in with women's if they say they are. And there's no reason for a company to not direct male employees to just do that. There's literally nothing stopping that. So it doesn't work as policy. It just undoes all other policies.
I know.
The people profiting are also standing to benefit quite a bit.
Yep, for sure. What was I going to say about the, I guess, presenting in that way. So yeah, you weren't upset at people like called you a woman or whatever, it's just interesting that you were understanding. Sounds logical. So yeah, how long did you, sorry, go ahead.
It was interesting just to kind of see how far my ex just kept going into it. And I was like, okay, well, maybe this is just really that important for them. So, and then she just kind of jumped the shark when she started dating another trans man and started telling everyone she was actually a gay man. And that offended me. And then she started complaining on Facebook about how she wasn't being let into HIV drug trials because they were limited to males. So they accepted men and trans women. And she was like, I'm a trans man. I take testosterone. I'm the same. It's transphobic.
Did anyone agree with her? And they were like, yeah, was there,
Yeah.
Did she make any headway with that?
Not that I know of. No, it was just around the time that we kind of stopped talking.
Isn't that interesting? Stuff like that doesn't shake them out of it. I mean, I guess not, obviously. What was the peer pressure like? Was it one of those things that once you started, I guess, identifying or playing around with that roles or what you were wearing, did it feel like you felt more pressure to keep it going?
There is social pressure because I had kind of reverted in some of my appearance. I had decided to not grow my hair out to not cut my hair again until I was through grad school, which is something that somebody else in my family had done. And I just, once it got past a certain point, they started talking to me like I was just outgroup, started just like people that I knew that I'd known for a couple of years now started defaulting to presuming that I was cis and saying I couldn't understand. And I would just be like,
literally only because of the hair thing, even though everything else was.
I think I stopped wearing the binder as often was the other thing.
How did they even know that?
What?
I mean, it seems almost invasive or just weirdly personal, not weirdly, but personal that they know or don't know.
They were going to make judgments about me based on my hair length. Because I was like, oh, it's not really about dressing how it makes you feel comfortable. It's about dressing like a subgroup. This is just emo, but for sex.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. You have to dress like them. Otherwise you're
another subculture. What it made me realize was that it was based on mutual self-identification and just in-group versus out-group. And it was kind of around that time that I just kind of, I was in therapy. My therapist at the time was concerned that I stopped caring about it so much.
Really?
Told me that it was who I was. And I was just kind of like, no, I don't think so anymore. I think this doesn't matter to me as much. And I'd rather just be expected, because I'm in a client-facing job, so that was the other reason. It was like it's a lot of effort to be going through, and I could be spending that effort on caring for the therapy and how would they see me. Obviously, it's like we should be able to present however we want, but that was a consideration for me. Like, can I keep this up in a way where they won't be confused if I'm suddenly a different appearance?
Did you feel any pressure from your therapist to start identifying in that way? It seems like they got some pressure. At the start?
No, not to start, but there was a very mild amount of pressure when I finally brought it up in therapy that I was feeling like this didn't matter to me anymore. Because it only came up in therapy when I brought it up, and I rarely saw a need to actually bring it up. But that was the only time that she kind of was giving me some pushback. And I think part of that was that she wanted to make sure I wasn't being pressured out of it. She wanted to be like, I'm still on your side. You don't have to that way.
I get that.
And may have been concerned it was a sign of depression.
Right. Yeah, I can see that.
No, I just outgrew it. It was just a phase. And it doesn't mean it's obviously with my ex, she's still, but I feel like she just kind of ended up in this, she ended up working at some trans law center, I think, at one point. So I don't know how she's doing now. Maybe she's doing great, but it did seem like you either go further into this
Yeah.
Or you don't. And I didn't.
Exactly. Wow. So
A
your
lot of
friends,
people did. Mhm.
yeah. So your friends were getting like severe surgeries or hormone blockers or
Yeah.
cross-sex hormones.
I think it was too early. We were still, it was still too early that I don't think I knew anybody who had been puberty suppressed. However, I did first in about 2010 encounter propaganda about how great it would be if everyone got to choose their own puberty. And I remember thinking, yeah, that would be great. Not knowing anything about the science of it.
Right.
And all the horrors that could unleash. But yeah, I didn't know anyone who was puberty suppressed. I did know people that went on testosterone in their like 20, 21, 22. There was a lot of pressure of like, you need to do this now or else you won't pass later and then you'll get murdered or kill yourself because you don't pass very well. So there was a lot of pressure of like, oh my gosh, puberty's ending. I better hurry up before it gets too much later. How frustrating that I had to start so late.
When does puberty end? I feel like I should know that by now. Like what?
It's different for every woman.
Okay.
Which is part of why you got to let women tell you when puberty's ended. We know better than men when puberty ends. Women can still grow until like their early 20s. You know, I grew in college about an inch. So I define womanhood as when you stop growing. That's when you're an adult, when you stop growing. So I don't think that I became fully a woman until probably my mid 20s. Before that, I was still a girl in a lot of ways, mentally. And still, my body was still developing too. You know, 18 is pretty arbitrary.
Oh, totally. I found that, well, because I had anorexia in my 20s for 6 years. And I really definitely now, like, I feel really mentally delayed because I'm like, well, I wasn't feeding my body. My brain wasn't getting sufficient nutrients in any way, shape, or form. I didn't eat like any fat. I was like, oh, can't eat. It was just horrible. Like my body was in aching pain, horrible back issues. You know, all I wanted to do was sleep because obviously my body is like dying. I didn't want to live.
Yeah.
So God knows, I don't know if that's going to affect me permanently. Probably, likely. I don't know.
Have you had a bone scan?
Come again?
Have you had a bone scan?
No.
Actually see what your bones are like?
That's a good question. No, because Kaiser's all like, you must be.
It is fortunate that it was in your 20s and not your teens.
I know, exactly. I'm very, very 100%. You best believe I'm very thankful that's when it was and that I got out of it. What was I think it's something about a comparison with it.
The trans steamroll. Because you don't hear too much about pro-an anymore, do you?
I mean, once I got out of it, no. I mean, I think it still exists for sure. I think it has to, like, especially on Instagram, but comparison culture
history.
Actually, it does exist, and like I think in a more severe way because these editing apps are so easy now to just like stretch your body out. Where like you look at it, if you have like as a human, you're like, that's not real. Like I know that's fake, but people eat it up. They love it. And people live their lives of just like that fake. Everything on that account is fake. People don't care. People will know that is fully fake, and they'll be like, "I love it." Yeah, you know, like the bimbos and like whatever.
Matrix, just like the steak is still good.
Exactly. Yes, great comparison. Yes, people don't care. It's like, whatever. I like it. It's just like that's the reality. You know, everyone's plugged into the internet, keeping you online. Lordy. So your friends were getting surgeries. Like, is that correct? Like what kind of surgeries?
One of them I held her blood bag, so that's wow. How close it was. Really, I remember asking my boss for time off for that for a few days.
What was it like seeing your friends? I'm assuming it was your friends going through that. Like
one of those ex-girlfriend.
Yeah,
we've been broken up for a bit. I sometimes I fear that was part of her motivation was hoping to like be what she thought I wanted her to be because I kind of introduced her to the concept. And then about several months had passed and we weren't together that long, but she really got way more attached than I did. But she had the double mastectomy, completely, not medically necessary at all. She'd been working with a gender therapist for about 6 months. She'd identified as trans for about 7 or 8 months. Like I met her in September. Mastectomy was in May.
God, Lordy.
And so yeah, I still have like, I debated, should I tell her not to do this?
Right.
And I ended up deciding that I should be supportive. And I regret that. I regret that a lot.
Don't ever blame yourself. It's just it was just
horrible. It was just
of course it is.
And this is, it's hard. It's hard to see her do that to herself.
Of course, that's traumatic witnessing that, man. I mean, these are
Mm-hmm.
from my understanding, really severe surgeries. You know,
She
chopping off
two kind of like Joker smile scars.
most of them do. I've yet to see some of the ones that are like decent looking, because again, I don't know if they're edited or not. By the way, if there's anything that you want to talk about that you're like fired up about, feel free to, like, at any point.
Phalloplasties are.
Yeah, your commentary on those videos are excellent. Oh my God, you've been on a roll. Like, you're just, I bet it's addicting, because the plethora of content you can grab and just like at ease have the confidence.
It's so easy. I never thought ethnography would be this easy. I don't have to like try it all.
Yeah, before the internet cut out, I was saying that one of the videos that you recently uploaded that you're, you know, ripping into that was excellent is the first video I saw of about phalloplasty months ago. I didn't know what the heck I was looking at, and she unwrapped her arm as she was in the hospital, and I just started bawling, crying. It was horrifying. My stomach sank. I'm just like, these people are like volunteering to do this. I just couldn't believe it. I still can't believe it. It's just like, I looked at her wall and I was like, she's like ripping into her body and tearing off pieces of her body for like clicks, for like YouTube content creator stuff. Because you look at her wall, it's all like clickbaity, and it's her entire YouTube presence is her trans like surgery life. Yeah.
Any other plastic surgery addict.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Them is like, wow, you definitely needed that. You were asking about whether the mastectomies ever look good. The only ones I've seen that look kind of passable are the keyhole ones on women that had very small breasts to begin with.
Right.
And so those actually, the scars are tend to get hidden pretty well. They don't have the long incisions.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it's obviously my ex was not one of those.
Mm-hmm.
We dated for a reason.
Some of them are slightly convincing. You're hilarious. Boobs are awesome. I agree. Some of the women that get the double mastectomy, I've noticed they, really lean into the masculine thing, and they jack up their lats and their body, and it can look convincing until they like stand up, and I'm like, your waist, dude, or your shoulders.
There's like one style of shorts that will hide my hips. I'm extremely curvy.
Yeah, a lot of women are like that. Like, you chop off one thing and then you hyper focus on another thing. I don't think it could ever end with these people, because it is a
OCD. Like, this is just, they are obsessing, and then the surgery is how they act compulsively. And I think the reason a lot of them get jacked is because women have the smaller pectoral girdle.
Yeah.
Sorry. And so that's another way that you can tell that someone's female, is like, okay, well, you look jacked kind of from far away, but then I get close and you're just actually like, and you have
which area is short? You said the pectoral something?
The pectoral girdle, just like the pelvic girdle in women is bigger and rounder.
Mm-hmm.
The pectoral girdle in women is smaller than the one in men. So men have broader shoulders proportionally and deeper chests proportionally.
Okay.
Which is why they have larger lungs and a larger heart, or can have theirs. So like my upper body is slight. I'm a slight person.
Mm-hmm.
I have been very strong in the past and had muscles, but regardless, my frame is still very slight, and you can tell that I'm female, no matter but people on anabolic steroids trying to really hide that, who are stressed out by the reminder and have all these ideas attached about what it means. Like, they do get pretty jacked.
Yeah, it's got, I mean, commendable, but it's just to try to escape. Yeah. The other video I saw you commentate on was that Black woman, and she was like, I really hate my phalloplasty, but it was hilarious. She was like, it's kind of, I hate it, but it was just, she like, doesn't like the color, doesn't like shaving she called it a thing. It's just like, wow. Again, she another massive.
Doesn't like the urine squirt gun aspect of it.
I was like, do what now? Dear God, it doesn't sound healthy or safe. I'm assuming she got the urethra stretching thing. I have no idea. How is that comfortable? I just don't understand how. What?
Well, they take a smaller strip from your arm and kind of like roll it up invertedly, so people get hair in the urethra too, which is much harder to shave. You still can. You just it's very delicate. Just sharpen sharpen a paper clip and then just kind of.
Shut up! You're joking. I can't tell.
I
Oh
wouldn't
my
be
God.
surprised. Maybe it's
I
happened.
know.
I haven't searched.
I
yet.
know. Well, it's like
You don't-
the men with the hairy holes that smell like poop. Or what is the poop? Is it just the fact that because it's like moisture gets stuck in there? What is the reason? Or it's
Well,
because
there's like a fistula will form, meaning like there's the tissue that's inflamed. It can scar together, and sometimes it scars together in a way that creates a hole, like a piercing almost. And so from there, your colon and your vagina are they share a wall, and when you're constructing something, you're also they're having to stick a tube in and connect it to that wall.
Not
and
a vagina. It's a
really
hole. I was confused there. You mean the manhole? We're talking about the man body.
Vagina.
Okay,
I mean, it happens with.
I don't call it the. Sorry, I don't just call. I just personally don't call it vagina because it's confusing. I know the medical term is neovagina, but I'm like, there's nothing close to that being a vagina. I mean, there's no. Don't
it's not anything.
Vaginas has muscles.
It's as much of a vagina as my ear canal is a vagina.
Yes.
It's literally asinine because it's also about as much as that. Literally, because it's often made out of colon. And they'll be like, look, they're both soft and mucousy. Both, they have the same color. It's like, and you can see the vagina has all these ridges because it can stretch. But so sometimes this happens too. You get the fistula with the hysterectomies or vaginectomies, or as one trans man called it, jack-o'-lanterning. Right. I wouldn't believe it, but if you search TikTok vaginectomy, she's like the 3 videos about it.
Wait, like actually showing stuff or talking about it?
No, just describing
how
great it is. But so their solution then to the fistula, when they're doing it, when they're constructing a fake phallus in a female, is to then merge the front part of their vagina, because it's female, that's now been scooped out. So we've scooped it out. We have just kind of like this tunnel of inflammation and scarring. And so the solution is then to kind of zipper Velcro them together and hope that they scar together. And that then therefore that will by dint of that be reinforcing the wall for the rectum. And it's like,
are we talking about a male or female? I'm lost.
This is a lot. This is gonna.
Is this a male or female body? I know. Okay.
Scooping out an actual female's actual vagina.
Dear God, I mean, like it's so obviously Frankenstein. A lot
also,
of crossing
to understand endometriosis exists. So it's like, even if you've stitched it up and removed the uterus, that doesn't mean she won't have a period, and that the blood won't end up bleeding into nowhere because there's nowhere for it to go.
Dear God.
Or sperm making it through all the various little nooks and crannies of the nightmare scar tissue that you've now connected.
I just can't even imagine what that even feels like, or living with that. I mean, this is permanent. You're messing with permanent body stuff. This is your only body you get, man.
A huge scarred together mass in your pelvic area, like that area moves. It moves constantly. It would hurt. Like these.
Yeah. Can you explain, now that we're on this topic of nether region fuckery? There's a lot of men that pretend to be women that get surgeries or inverted penis surgeries and claim that they like orgasm from some, I don't know if it's intentional from the surgery, but like something, it makes it more erogenous. Is that true? And like, what is that about? Do you know what I'm talking about? Are they lying?
Male,
like what?
Male to female?
Yeah.
And then being able to climax. If they were able to go through puberty normally, then barring nerve damage, they can still maintain the ability to climax even after they construct the fake vagina. And I've seen videos. It is true. But so they dissect the penis. They remove the spongiform tissue that actually swells, which is how you know it's nothing like female orgasm. So they remove that, and then what's left is the urethra and the nerves, the dorsal nerves, and so they will kind of, and the skin, and so they'll pull the nerves in the urethra out of it and through this other hole, and then they'll kind of stitch this one close and cut the urethra and stitch it all together, and then put the whole thing back in, and then kind of pull that nerve back, so then it's just kind of like the glands sticking out at the front. And it's,
amazing visuals.
And if you,
I've watched the animation. Yeah.
You watch the I've watched actual videos. You're welcome. Oof. You're welcome.
Is America. This all one process? Because the animation I've seen, I'm like, is this a multiple surgery process? They do this in one fell swoop?
The animation is one fell swoop. Yeah.
Oh, what? It's wild. One of them was like, it goes in and then like, I was like, pulling it out again. I don't know. I honestly, some point I'm just
I had to
lost.
watch it a lot of times to be able to actually follow. Like
Exactly.
it was like I didn't take enough math in college to be able to model the surfaces and the shape. It's like Dick Tesseract.
Wow. So they jizz like semen? Is that true?
They
They don't obviously.
I've seen some of them actually. I don't know how it works though.
Yeah, I
don't actually know how it works, but I've seen some of them have something coming out. So I would assume possibly some tissue was left in there, or I don't know.
Lord,
I don't know, but it was definitely post vaginoplasty.
but this is like the best case scenario. Am I wrong in this? That like having them to be able to like still sexually get off.
That's best case, yeah. And
yeah, like I feel like this is a very uncommon outcome.
Yeah,
and I just have to wonder how long.
Who are like it won't happen in puberty suppressed kids.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, because they don't have enough skin and stuff to work with. Obviously,
not only do they not have enough tissue to make the whole, like they didn't go through puberty, so they don't have sexual sensation in the same way, or they have minimal sexual sensation.
Yes.
So
about that part, yeah.
Jazz Jennings, for instance, has gone on at length. I need to do another video showing his conversations with his creeper grandma.
Is that his grandmother? The one that was like, if you don't dilate, or are you talking about a different?
No, that's his mom.
Okay. I haven't seen
Grandma's the one that looks like she belongs in Egypt 5,000 years ago. I don't know what she's doing, but it seems like she dehydrates herself before every episode on purpose.
Could be. Who knows?
I don't know, but she's a creep. She's really interested in Jazz's sex life and his feelings, and so they have one episode where they're just in a park. They're just in a park having this conversation.
I'm beginning to think she's an actor. I'm like, is that even? I mean, you have to think of how bought in this. That's what I'm saying. How bought in this family is so script. Obviously, I believe that this stuff happened to Jazz. But like the mom is just out of her mind. You have to be some special type of person to sign up to be on a reality TV show or to be on TV anyway in this capacity. So I'm like, of course, I don't think it would be beside them to be like, hey, the movie producers or whatever the hell are like, hey, so we want to like add this like grandmother character. So you're going to meet Janice and this is going to be your grandmother and you have to play along. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can see
that. Maybe his real grandma's dead. And so, because they were grooming him since he was like 2 for this.
Oh, for sure.
He's been on the
Oprah. Wasn't it
Barbara
Oprah?
Walters had the interview with him. And then some random Australian news person had an interview with him when he was like 5.
This has been
whoa, it's a boy that likes girl toys. This is unheard of. No, never before in history. It's news.
So, I know. What? This is so obviously for this whole agenda. Like, how disgusting.
Like
I guess I haven't thought about it.
It's just propaganda. It's been propaganda the whole time. It shows you how significant the moneyed interests are behind this and why a lot of these people really need to be investigated to see why they participated and what is. I don't see why this is not child sex trafficking. I do not see why what happened to Jazz Jennings is not child sex trafficking across state lines while being filmed, and including the genital surgery was filmed, and that is clearly sexual abuse of a minor. And he was trafficked around, and a bunch of other adults in all these states got to examine him and
comment.
Such an
excellent point. It's so true. So, it's a great point.
Including the surgeon talking about how you could be a porn star for everything, all the pictures that we've taken. In one of the episodes, I covered in one of the episodes where I might even brought him up a couple other times, but the surgery episode, he made a comment after taking a bunch of photos.
Ew.
By the way, he's like,
God.
"Oh my gosh, you poor thing, you could be a porn
star." John Money 2.0, like what? John Money 2.0, like
very very aggressively John Money trying to prove that their desire to be a woman is based in something that's real. Beyond just their desire to be a woman. It can't be that simple. It has to be something profound and divine in some way.
This is like excellent propaganda, like so well. I always say I like have to give it to them. It's incredible what they've been able to accomplish at this point.
Yeah, the people have just bought into it. It's wild to me because I feel like if they just saw what the reality of it might snap them out of it, but they are so just disgusted at this point by the concept of I am talking to someone that thinks that trans women aren't women, that they won't engage. They just turn off their mind because we're living through an inquisition, and the inquiry is, do you believe trans women are women? If you say no, you're bad and need to be re-educated, broken, brought into the divine light of the heavenly kingdom of respecting genders.
Yeah, exactly. God almighty. Seems like different times probably from when you had your experience you lived through into to now to see it
Oh, I wouldn't
now.
be involved now, even if I was a young person. Like now it's just, it's clearly out of its mind. Like it's one thing for it to kind of be about social exploration, what makes you feel comfortable,
Right.
like
Right.
performativity, to use, I think, Butler's term for there, of just like, acting what feels comfortable, playing around at that. But
Yeah.
the pseudoscience, like religion that we're dealing with now.
Predatory, like you were saying earlier, that you experienced even when you were going through it. What did you see that was you felt was predatory again?
Well, telling young people that they need to hurry up and transition or else
Right.
they won't be passable later. They'll need more surgeries later. You can't afford not to transition now.
Who was saying that then?
Um, I counted documents through the gender studies program. I forgot exactly who. And then there were also speakers that came
Hmm.
and
Wow.
reading on it. Um,
That sounds
it might
predatory.
have been actually from, there was like, I think a gay and lesbian center on campus
Mm-hmm.
that I may have gotten it from. I got it from somewhere. I remember where I was when I was reading it and thought it was like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so,
Yeah. Sounds, I mean,
so
it's,
that's an aspect, preying on people in mental health crises or who have just gone through something bad
yep.
and not exploring other alternatives. Just the idea that we're going to like automatically assume that the mentally ill person's belief about the cause of their distress is true. Just in this one area though.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, they're mentally ill.
I know.
That doesn't make them bad. It just means that
No.
they don't have the judgment that they would have, and we need to think about that because we need to take care of mentally ill people. Part of the ways we take
Yes.
care of them is not to let them compulsively self-mutilate. I'm sorry, I
Seems so
don't know how
obvious.
else to describe it because it's
No, you shouldn't be sorry. You're speaking accurately to me. It's a fact. Like, and I hate, I don't hate, but it's just I wish I had another comparison. I only bring it up all the time because I was anorexic, and it's like, again, they're so similar. Like,
yeah.
no one would want to tell me like, oh, you should definitely, yeah, you look great. I mean, uh, people obviously could see that there was something wrong, and it's one of the things people couldn't really do anything. It's definitely a choice I had to make on my own.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have been good that it be taken out of my online community. There was like a forum I was obsessed with visiting. I didn't have any friends in real life. That was my
Mm-hmm.
family. We were helping each other out. They're like, oh my God, I had cake. And we teach each other how to, I don't know, just, it was like a venting journal forum thing. And that was my life. And I hated my family. And that was the only thing that mattered.
Yeah. I'm just contemplating, like, if we did have an analogous situation, it would, the propaganda would have to be that the only reason anorexics die is because we deny them liposuction, forcing them to resort to unsafe methods of weight loss. So if only we gave them free liposuction as often if they needed it, they wouldn't need to restrict. Problem solved. Liposuction cured. Give it to teenage girls now, as much as they want.
I
And
don't know how
if
people
the
can't see
parents
that.
won't consent, just take them away and give them liposuction.
I don't know how people
specifically.
No, you're fine. I just don't see how people can't see that comparison. I guess it's because they haven't seen anyone that's gone through it. Ugh.
Yeah.
And it's been so propagandized as like, yes, it's you and be you and equality and hug someone. I don't know. It's everywhere. It's freaking everywhere. Apple workouts I've been doing.
Really
Fitness stuff.
saturated. One theory I have also is that supposedly, and I believe it's accurate, but I need to double check that there's a limit, there's some requirement that insurance companies need to spend a certain amount of their revenues on medical care, otherwise they need to refund it. And that was part of Obamacare. I think the ratio is like 7. They can only have 7 times as much, or it's something along those lines. They're not allowed to just collect premiums and not spend them and be denying care. And so the theory was that this is a way of getting rid of that extra money while it's being still funneled back into the insurance companies via like kickbacks from the doctors. So these people can perform these extremely expensive infinite operations on completely healthy people, and the insurance company can launder money that way. Doctors can profit that way. Whoever's like reading this unethical, unpublished research that's undoubtedly being taken and considered by corporations, they get to profit. It's just It doesn't bottom out. All of the costs are externalized to the taxpayer, to the person's family, to the person themselves later in life, and by then they've taken the money.
Who is profiting? I'm trying to follow.
Doctors, health insurance companies. I believe that the health insurance companies are getting kickbacks from it. And so I believe that that's one of the reasons it's full covered. One of the reasons there's so much political strength towards universal health care. Somebody's funding this, clearly. It's got quite a funding lobby, which has snowed people into thinking that they're much more, that this is the last group we need to fix, and then society's fixed. We fixed women. We're done with Black people. Gays got their rights. This is the last group. Don't be mean. You got your rights.
God, exactly.
Let them walk through the magical, expensive portal so that they can be the opposite sex.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's so obvious that there's someone's benefiting from this. It's insidious, obviously.
Yeah.
Ugh, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this where it's been so it's in everything. I keep repeating that, but I don't know.
The fact that the same propaganda is coming from everywhere. Like, I was just shortly before this. I haven't actually recorded, but it's or I might have not subtitled. But somebody yet again linked me to a new article of Scientific American embarrassing itself. I guess they didn't link me again to the article, but they linked. Anyway. And this one it's just so dumb. Like, I made several videos about how their conception of male and female, masculine and feminine is like a number line. But a number line has to have a 0 point. Negative numbers are not an extension of positive numbers. There is a 0 point. On one side you have negative, on the other side you have positive. So they have this spectrum where they have female on this end and male on this end. Well, at what point do they cross over? When does female become male? Because the it's a spectrum argument that really only works if it like 1 to 10 is a spectrum. 1 to H is not a spectrum. At some point the letter becomes the number. Like.
I'm following. Yeah.
There's no spectrum between I don't know. So there others.
How do you not lose your mind? How do you keep your what do you do to de-stress? I mean, this has got to be stressful to read all this stuff, and maybe you've just gotten so used to it. Maybe you're just numb to it. I don't know. It's, to me, it's stressful. It's upsetting just seeing these mentally ill young people, I
become more and more disturbed. Like, it was more amusing in the beginning, I think, and the more I've watched it and seeing young people being groomed since, the woman that went septic, Gruffin, she was puberty suppressed and put on testosterone.
When was this?
When she was she said that she was on testosterone from the time she was 14. So I'm making an inference that before that she was on puberty suppressants, in part because she hasn't mentioned needing oh no, she did get a mastectomy. My bad. She got a mastectomy when she was 17, and then got the lower surgery. The euphemisms, the inability to use the medical terms.
I know. Bottom surgery, very
the back cave, jack-o'-lantern.
I mean, it's young kids. It's funny and doing dances around it's just mind blowing. Making it trendy and TikTok-y around serious mental illnesses. Half of them are faking it to get attention. And half of them are really
people don't know that they're doing that. So it's if you tell them you're just doing this for attention, they're going to say, no, I'm not, because they're mentally ill. They don't understand that the reinforcement is what's driving the behavior, that they don't have a higher level cognitive process driving the behavior because they're too ill to have that higher level cognitive process. So they are actually kind of, swimming up the nutrient gradient towards attention and reinforcement. So me too. I'm the same. I mean, I do have higher level cognitive processes at times, but the obsessiveness around this topic is definitely I'm bored. I'm just kidding.
Oh no, trust me.
Something new. So it is
same. I'm the same though.
In that way, but at the same time, it is stressful. I had to stop doing jazz episodes because it was so upsetting to see. And I know season 7 is starting soon. Season 7.
How old is he now? Didn't he gain 100 pounds?
21, 22.
Yeah, do you think he'll ever wake up? Probably not. It's just the same stuff with Hollywood stuff.
Get away from them. I feel like
yeah.
He's either gonna Gypsy Rose out, or I don't know, that one Duggar that got away. I think.
Oh, sounds like
they didn't even notice.
Oh,
just had another one to replace him.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the
What
head
were you saying
count.
about the septic person? The woman, I think, that
Oh,
went septic.
that she had been groomed also since she was an adolescent. She was seventh,
Is
eighth
she
grade. We're talking
on
about.
TV or something? I don't know this person.
Oh no, she's not on TV, but she was one of the phalloplasty files. I think
Oh, okay.
I've made two videos on her. One was she just wants to pee, and then I think the other one is Requiem for a Peen.
That's the name of your videos, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, they're
yeah.
those are hilarious.
So she's got a TikTok page, and half of the videos are like, "Wow, being trans is so cool," or "Hello, minor, I'm contacting on TikTok. You should join the
How
party."
old is she now?
She's I think 22 as well. That's what her profile said. But she's contacted some 14, 15-year-olds per their profiles to encourage them to get phalloplasties as well, because they were posting about it. But half of them are everything's great. I love it. It's so fun. And then the other half are yeah, I had my phalloplasty in April, and then a month later I had to go back, and they kept sending me home until I like collapsed and then needed to be on a ventilator for 2 weeks because I was septic, and which is when the infection, she had a urinary tract infection, and then that went to her bladder, which then went to her kidneys, and from there it went into her blood.
Oh my God, that's
Because the
bad.
blood
I'm
is
pretty sure it's
filtering through
bad.
the kidneys. So
Yeah, septic is bad.
yeah, it's real bad, especially 2 weeks of sepsis. I know somebody
Oh my
was
God.
septic for 5 days and very nearly
hell?
died. It was horrible.
Yeah.
And this was during COVID. This was a few months ago. This happened.
Holy
That,
shit.
that she was in the ICU for 2 weeks, and then there was a separate time where she needed to be in the regular hospital for 3 weeks for something I think part of it was that she had to have a bladder surgery to remove the bladder stones that were forming because it was so uncomfortable to pee. So she stopped drinking more or less. And because her kidneys were so inflamed that they weren't filtering very well. So these crystals were having time to get in the bladder and sit in the bladder. And they were getting to the point where they were so big that she couldn't pass them.
Oh my
So
God.
she's like, I don't know how her kidney function is. I don't know that that's even been tested. I wouldn't be surprised if she's got reduced kidney function, like significantly reduced. Because usually people, if they have kidney damage, they might not get diagnosed for years until the kidney function gets really low.
Interesting.
And they find out that they had some idiopathic kidney damage from something.
Is this all from the phalloplasty thing?
Oh yeah. All the infections are from the phalloplasty. She got it. So they take part of the strip and then they roll it up this way to get the hairy urethra, and then they take a larger strip and they just kind of like roll it up like it's sushi, and then stitch it shut. And then they stitch the inner one to the urethra itself. So that means they kind of have to scoop up around the urethra and remove parts of the vulva for that, and then stitch it to the urethra itself. And then the outer part gets stitched to the outer part. So we have this dual structure thing, even though an actual penis has like multiple different internal structures to give it structural support. But this is literally just a meat tube, a skin tube.
I've seen a video, unfortunately, on Twitter where porn and everything is allowed. And the chick is just like bending it up, rolling it, boing, like bending it back, flip, like it's just those little jelly. You can't. Whoa! I can't hold on to it. Thing. It looks like that. I don't know what the hell those things are called.
I don't know. Some kind of fidget.
It's just like it's not even obviously closed. It's just like a cylindrical thing. Like it's not anywhere. It doesn't even look like a penis.
Yeah, and then the result is like, because they're stitching and they're kind of hoping that it scars together in a way that's like closed. But instead it's all these like diverticuli form, which are like little pockets that kind of where instead of it being closed, like there's a little fistula or something, and then it gets into the space between the skin layers where it just like grows because it's thrilled to be there. And then that becomes a local infection that they can't clear because it's like in the tissue, and or easily the antibiotics just aren't enough, and it's been there long enough. But in any case, so from there she was getting chronic bladder and kidney infections, and from there she went septic, and her doctors kept sending her home and saying it was something else.
Of course,
yeah, until she got to the point where she nearly died and has needed stones and is still having problems to the point where she's like, I'm really hoping it's the bladder stones again, because at least then they could fix it. I'm like, why are you hoping that?
Is this all like being broadcasted for entertainment on TikTok?
She posts every day. Yeah, no, she posts every couple of days.
It's so weird. Like
and
this whole
waiting to see her neurologist or her urologist in November, and she's really pissed off at her endocrinologist because they won't renew her testosterone prescription until she sees them in January. but they won't see her in January unless she's been taking testosterone so they can check her blood levels. And she doesn't understand that they just do not care about her. They've gotten the money and they're done. They don't want to be involved in this anymore because clearly she's about to die. Like she should be running to get this thing removed from her.
I know. When I was
ruining her life.
When
trans
I briefly
healthcare, though, she complains about trans healthcare in the state of it.
Big Pharma's trans rights or big whatever. When I was researching phalloplasty briefly, I do recall them saying, that the success rate of phalloplasty is like really low. Is that correct in what you've seen?
I have not come across one yet that I would say didn't have problems.
Yeah.
Didn't have very predictable, significant problems, whether that's people peeing out at the base of their phallus instead of the tip because of there's holes leading out, which are, a nice pathway in for your skin bacteria, which could include MRSA. Sometimes MRSA is on your skin, and it's not a problem unless it can get into your skin.
What is MRSA? I've heard of it, but I don't know what that is.
Multi-drug resistant Staphylococcus aureus.
So it's like a staph infection thing? I heard staph.
It's a staph infection. Yeah, it's a staph infection that's resistant to most antibiotics, to methicillin.
Oof.
Sorry, it's methicillin resistant Staphylococcus aureus, but the methicillin, I believe, is a stand-in for multiple strains. But so it's hard to clear. Usually if there's necrotizing fasciitis after surgery, flesh-eating disease, usually that's a staph infection.
Yeah.
They got in between the tissues. I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet. So that or gangrene, I would predict to be in the future. Or another bout of sepsis. But yeah, you can have that on the skin. And if it gets into the skin, if you're immunocompromised, they're not thinking about where they're going to be when they're old is part of it. So one of them had a fistula where he was like peeing at the base of it and said that it closed up like over time. And this is someone who's roided out. So it's like, okay, when you had the surgery and then we're recovering from surgery, everything got smaller because you weren't exercising. And then you started exercising again and tissue got bigger. And this hole that had been big enough for fluid to get in was pushed shut. That's not the same thing as the hole healing.
Yeah.
The hole's going to open right back up when you're old. And then you're going to possibly be in a nursing home, having dementia, getting constant UTIs with a horrible quality of life because you're too demented to understand where the pain's coming from. Sorry, if I've worked in a lot of skilled nursing, I've worked with a lot of dementia. It's no fun. Like to have a dementia plus UTI is a bad time. They can't explain it. A lot of caregivers don't predict it.
Wow.
Or infer it. So it's
I know. That's what I think too. I always think that that one woman, the whole forearm was just ripped to shreds and it's like a tourniquet effect. I'm like, what do you even think what's going to happen in like 5 years, dude? Or the chick that had that massive steak chunk ripped out of the back. I'm like, you're not going to be able to like stand up or like lay or function. And I mean, of course, I was about when you're older.
Maybe you can compensate for the reduced like muscle tone now when you're young. Right. But when you're older and your bones aren't as strong and things, you just can't exercise, that differential could mean that you just can't use that hand, the hand's not strong enough to hold a fork. It doesn't have the dexterity. It's not, your tissue is hardened as they age, especially when they're all scarred and get torn. Like, yeah.
I feel like you're getting stressed and like weathered or like labored breathing just from talking about it. I mean, how could you not?
It's horrifying. It makes me so sad. Like it's, oh, and I think also Gruffin in particular, he still had a suprapubic catheter for months. I think he still does, as far as his last TikTok her last TikTok about it, which is a catheter that goes in above your pubic bone, so like at the bottom of your stomach, and then goes directly into your bladder.
Oh.
Obviously, it's not all coming out though, because enough is getting from the kidneys into the bladder to be forming these stones despite the catheter. You think the catheter would prevent it, but apparently she's not drinking enough water to keep up with it. Oh, that's the other thing, is that I would expect a lot of something called diabetes insipidus to happen from all this fuckery with the pituitary, which is a form of diabetes that has nothing to do with sugar and is just from pituitary dysfunction, making you pee constantly, which is why it's called diabetes. Diabetes means peeing a lot.
I mean, well, aren't these people test subjects? All these surgeries, and we'll have to see what's going to happen. We're literally watching this unravel on TikTok, on social media apps. I just feel like they get into this like loop of like, I mean, this whole mental illness thing and like having disorders is cool and going to the hospital is cool. I remember this thing when I was, again, the anorexic thing, when I OD'd on caffeine pills, and it was like late at night, and I was like, Dad, Mom, I got to go to the hospital. I feel like I'm dying, heart, whatever. My dad was like, do you really need to go? At the time I was like, I'm so insulted. Yes. But I mean, I really do think it was a massive cry for attention then. Like, I don't think I got sufficient attention. I know I didn't get sufficient attention growing up. So it's funny when he said that, I think about that and I'm like, no, yes. I mean, it's tragic. I don't even know. Like, what the fuck is going to be the future? This is a lot of, I don't know the number of like how many kids this is affecting.
For a lot of like people didn't want to fund the 9/11 hero situation with all their illnesses. These people are going to need lifelong care, especially some of them will with the more severe urological issues or all the damage from the hormones. We have no idea exactly how much damage that's going to induce. It's possible that the effect of puberty blockers and the wrong sex hormones and the impact on the brain development there, that could be playing a significant role in Jazz's obesity. There's been a lot of research on low cognitive level and cognitive deficits and weight gain.
Interesting.
Because you kind of like, they don't really pay attention as they're eating necessarily. They don't really have a strong sense of how much they've already eaten that day. So it's just kind of like they tend to eat more. But one of the reasons weight loss like recommendation is just don't try to limit, just write down what you eat as you eat it. Like you don't have to limit yourself, just write it down. And then that over time helps you remember, oh, I already ate breakfast. I don't need to eat another breakfast.
That's a good point. Yep, exactly. I think it could be multiple things with that poor kid. I mean, what are you seeing any new trends on TikTok with the whole cult?
New trends. I just feel like I keep discovering different schisms. So we kind of have there's one split between, and these splits are kind of like complicated. So you have all these denominations inside of this possibilities, whatever shape it would be. So there's the pronouns don't equal gender group, and then there's the pronouns do equal gender, and they don't seem to have thought about it yet.
Yeah, I love your breakdown of they. It's brilliant. Loved it.
Oh yeah, I'm quite proud of that. It took me a while to work through why I didn't like that term, but it doesn't. They can't be a synonym for he and she and be different from he and she and be in the same box as he and she. It breaks your logic, and the fact that all they can do is bully you and call you stupid if you don't go along with it. It's about getting you to hyper focus on your own language so you don't notice the shit they're pulling.
Yes, exactly. Nailed it.
Yeah, thought control at the thought-stopping cliche. The language of the totalist environment is such that the thought-stopping cliche, in this case, trans women are women, is the beginning and the end of ideological analysis.
Man, that's what I've been saying. The whole pronoun thing earlier this year when I discovered it, and pronouns are rohypnol, and it really is. I'm not able to put it into great terms of why it's the starting point of the destruction of like language and reality. Can you answer that? Like, why do you think pronouns is extremely dangerous? Like the downfall of it's like the starting point. I think it is.
It's an attack on language and our ability, our right to form mental categories, our right to fundamentally to speak language that we grew up with. You're telling me I can't, because there's two categories of words. I don't know.
Were you seeing that? That's amazing.
Is that?
I don't know
what's happening there.
Okay, the people will get a light show. Oh, there you go.
No, I can't really. So there's content words and then there's function words. And content word would be like cat, dog, food, like pigeon, etc. And a function word is the actual syntax of the language, the words that don't really mean much except to relate the content words. And that would be words like pronouns, prepositions, auxiliary verbs, articles, things that are just there to help you organize and process the content words as they come in quickly, to quickly process the relationships between them and to quickly express those relationships without having to think too much about it. And so when they say, it's one thing to ask somebody not to use a slur, to please don't use this one content word. That is a much, much more reasonable ask than please change how your syntax works. And make it customizable to everybody. It's like at that point, pronouns are not pronouns anymore. They are names. Especially when you're telling me I have to use all three and decline them, meaning I have to use all 9. And and they have to be in the right proportions. I keep encountering now. So it's like we've gone from I prefer he, I prefer she. Then a step further is, well, I prefer they. And then of course you got the split to neopronouns. which I can't figure out if I should group it in with the neopronoun people or with the they people. Where is it going?
It's a great question.
To he, they, she, they, he, she, they, like this idea that there's now a spectrum of pronouns in between, like or it's like a trinary like
just wild.
There's only so many pronouns I can memorize and use for an infinite number of people.
Exactly. I think it just sends people into a state of like, if it was me and I was genuinely like wanted to care about, I mean, I care about people, I do, but like, I'm obviously not buying into the pronoun thing, but if I was buying into it, I would just be in a constant state of like anxiety and like worried that I'm going to offend someone. That's not fun for anyone. Like, do these people realize that's what they're doing to people that I hope they care about? I don't know how can they possibly care about someone else if they're so focused on themselves and what you're saying about them. I'm just like,
gives them license to then intrude on your conversation if they like suspect that you might have been referring to them.
Yes.
It's a way of marginalizing people who speak a language other than English natively. Turkish speakers have a lot of trouble with he, she, and it because they only have one word for that, for all those. It marginalizes people who have any sort of disability that affects their pronunciation, especially on a fluctuating level, because the difference between he and she is just a slight difference in where your tongue constricts.
Yep.
Are we testing the hearing of employees to make sure that they actually heard a she versus a he? It's a very subtle difference. If you go on Google spectrogram, you can actually see a visualization and say he and she, and then you'll see that the she is much, there's a high pitched kind of fuzziness, and that's the distinction. Well, an older trans woman is going to be like the least likely group to be able to hear that. So they're going to hear he, and they're going to get mad every single time, especially if they're too narcissistic and too ignorant to understand that what I said may not have been what you heard.
Exactly.
So it's unenforceable, unverifiable. And so what else was I going to say? So or aphasia is another example. Aphasia is an acquired loss of language. So if somebody has a head injury, and aphasia can affect just function words. It can affect just content words. And so I've worked with people where their content word is fine. They can come up with content words to get their point across, but they just can't differentiate anymore between pronouns. Like you can't see a written differentiation. They don't verbally differentiate. They're just, if they can even find them, one is interesting in particular because it was a game of opposites, and the opposite content words he could read, and the opposite function words he just couldn't read them or differentiate them. So if he was going to be speaking, get to the point, because he's healed a lot. This one I'm thinking in particular, that he may end up in a situation where other people can't figure out that he has aphasia. They just notice that he keeps using the wrong pronoun even after he's been corrected. And should he have to spend his life practicing something he has a disability preventing him from succeeding in? Should he have to disclose his disability to anyone who feels offended at the fact that he made a instead of a sh? It's absurdist, it's controlling, it's entitled, it's narcissistic, it's self-centered, it's ignorant, because there's all these other groups who have civil rights. All these other groups have civil rights, and it's not just women whose civil rights are being violated by this. You can't elevate one religion, and this is a religion. You can't elevate one religion to the status of first-class citizenship, of infinite free healthcare, to the point where they're complaining that we don't have Tide Pod healthcare. We don't have good Tide Pod healthcare. Well, don't eat them. Don't eat them. And you won't
is that shit you've seen on TikTok? They're kidding. They have got to be trolling. You say Tide Pod healthcare?
Yeah, I call trans healthcare sometimes like.
Oh, I thought you meant this literal. I was like, okay.
If only. This? I mean, okay. But it's like that's their attitude. Is like you go in and you do this thing that's obviously going to screw up your health, and then you're mad that there's no healthcare to fix it, and they feel entitled that science hasn't already fixed it because they've just been marginalizing our needs for centuries. Don't eat the Tide Pod. You won't need Tide Pod healthcare. Problem solved.
Yeah.
Go to therapy. Conversion therapy. Okay, convert your body. That's less of conversion therapy.
Oh my God, exactly. I've just found that, this seems like such an easy thing to identify into if you've been bullied or not seen or loved, or I mean it's the easiest way to be like at a party and to make it all about you and be like, how dare you, making up this fucking thing where it's like you didn't use what I want to be, the pronoun that I want to go by. But meanwhile,
I already told you. And then they'll be like, well, obviously we'll make exceptions for disabilities. How will you do that, Karen? I don't know what else to say.
It's okay.
Karen,
it's such a obviously controlling. I have the upper end here. No, you sit down. Like, it's so obviously that these people are obviously
done all
damaged
this just to get control over you. It's like, yeah, you would have. You clearly
never.
would have. That's clearly something you're.
All it is controlling.
Next to after she dumped me in kind of not a great way, at all. And I literally never seen her again. That was like 6 years ago. She just flounced. This is a long story. After that point, she changed her name and she started going by he pronouns and, jazzed out in terms of her weight and just, but after, like, if it came up in conversation or if I was, an anecdote was relevant, like I would start getting corrected. Like, I'm not going to go back and edit 4 years of memories.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
To he and him, and never refer to them by their dead. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do that.
Name isn't real. Like, quit it. It's just another guilt thing. Like dead name. It's
such a fuck you to your parents. I'm sorry. That's
for sure. It's a great point.
Yeah.
I mean, what dead? It sounds silly on its face. Like you're still the same person. What exactly is dead? Like,
did you see the one where it was like, Jack was always here?
No, what is that? It sounds creepy already.
This person who was also, I don't know if you've seen the one where it's spliced with Sound of Music, all of the different surgeries you can get, but it's that person, and apparently they have some sort of.
Is it an umbrella person or someone making fun of or?
No, someone who's very serious, like into trans man person.
Oh. Okay.
And so he or she was saying that like her ex-wife was giving birth or something, her wife was giving birth, and she was like, I can have you in there as dead name, but not as Jack. And so it was just this rant about that one. Like Jack is always in there. Like I had to get rid of him. Dude,
they said that
and then posted it.
Oh my God. That's what they said it? Like
oh, it was super like all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, like energy.
I can't tell. I'm like, how this time, like, are you like self-parroting your shit or are you serious?
No, he's super serious.
Plus it's serious. Social media. So I think there is a sense of people hamming it up, even subconsciously. But I know I don't not believe
disturbed. I don't comment on her stuff because I worry.
Wow. It's so bizarre. This stuff is on full display. And like people are liking and commenting and I don't know.
Well, people are gonna will not be able to believe that this was a thing. They're gonna be like, what?
I hope so.
Males and females were a spectrum, or like, what? Why did you think you
maybe I'm just doing what to children? I'm like, how the hell are we gonna come out of this? Like how I don't know. I hope and assume it'll become a time where we go, what the hell was that?
It's going to come at the cost of a very large pile of women and children's bodies, broken bodies.
For sure.
And people talk about that. Yeah, I just care less about that, unless they were children when it happened. But adult men. Obviously, I care about the waste of resources, the entitlement to infinite.
No, I get you, 100%.
The refusal to consider that disabled people who need those actually do exist and need them more than you do.
Oh yeah.
My suffering is the worst suffering because it feels. I feel it. That makes it the worst.
Exactly. Like
it's happening to me.
I know it's so insulting, the whole identifying into mental illness thing. Like what? People that actually have DID or what is it? The tics or the what is that shit called? No, the stemming. Where they're like stemming to the music beat. You're not stemming. I'm not an expert on stemming, but like stemming to the music beat. I'm like, aren't you just dancing? Like you're performing. It's not a medical condition.
Yeah. Because we're dealing with a lot of non-clinicians who think that they can self-diagnose. Yeah. And it's like, it doesn't mean they're automatically wrong. It's that you have no idea what the landscape is. You're trying to figure out what city you live in and you've never looked at the map and you don't trust mathematicians, whatever they're called, cartographers.
You were so good at whatever the hell is analogies. Is that the correct term? I don't know.
Sure. Like examples, arguments, like simplifications.
Yes,
Analogy, I think,
it
is
makes
good.
so much sense. You're so good at that. Another talent of yours.
Thank you.
Yeah. God.
But it's so they don't understand what it looks like clinically that someone's stimming. They don't understand that just because you're doing this, it doesn't mean it rises to the level of a clinical disorder, because there's a range. Everybody has a range. Everybody's a little bit neurotic. Everyone's a little bit, we all have our potential for these illnesses, but there is a normal. There is actually a normal. And I feel bad. Plus, I like doing this does not equal autism. It means that you're bored and you like doing that.
Yeah, had too much sugar. I don't know.
If I can't stop you from doing that ever to the point where you won't eat, then perhaps. Yeah. But liking to dance is not. Because you're right. It's just you might be dancing to the beat of your own drum music in your head, but that doesn't.
Acting
out. People want a reason, just like with trans. They want a reason to have permission to act in either socially inappropriate or socially unusual ways.
Yes. I think it's that mega. To be quirky and different, to be even more different, to be the most different.
I'm not my parents. I'm unique.
Again, I think it's a massive, didn't get enough attention. They want attention, which is, I mean, we all need attention. We all need love and care.
Kids need attention or else they don't grow. You need to give kids attention, but you also as a parent need to guide them into healthy ways of getting attention and not just give them attention when it hits a threshold where you're annoyed by them.
You're like, fine, whatever, exactly.
Like kids raising kids. They don't. Not competent parents, especially the ones that then turn around and like, oh my gosh, my 2-year-old wants to wear a dress. I better order the testosterone now. I want to support them. I want to see myself as a supportive parent. No need to think.
Exactly. I think social media has a lot to blame. A lot of it to blame is social media and displaying online. Look at how great of a parent I am. Look at, Facebook. Facebook land is all like delusions and virtue signaling woke hell. I mean, all of the internet really, though. Oh, for sure.
I went back on there briefly and posted 2 things. One was an actual linguistic analysis of they, them. I didn't say no one can say that. I just was like, this is why it doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, no. And then the other one was like, don't put people that can impregnate in cages with the people that can be impregnated. And I got a lot of people, 5 different
Isn't
people
that crazy?
who all known me during the trans period or knew me during some other significant period. We're just like, that's a bad take, or long paragraph, like just denouncing me and like no engagement. They're just immature. They just throw tantrums.
When was that? When did you post that?
Oh, it was a few weeks ago. And then I deactivated my Facebook at that point because it was kind of like, is this trash? And like a couple of people really liked what I had posted, and enough people didn't like it where I was like, oh no, okay,
it's trash.
Most of you are trash. And the few people that I would have like perhaps wanted a conversation with, you're also trash. You're also trash. Let me know when you're no longer trash.
Yeah, I know. I've changed my name to Trans Women Are Men, and like it allows it. Like it says trans women, and it's still there. And people are like, I love your username. I'm about to deactivate it. I've gotten downloaded the file. All I want is the photos. I don't use it anymore.
Definitely the file, and I haven't deleted it because it's got a lot of significant memories in there. But at the same time, I don't want to leave it activated because I'm worried that like. I don't want to go. I'm too lazy to go through and like actually pare down the friend list significantly. But I'm worried that someone will like find family members or acquaintances, even though I'm not friends with any of my family or anything.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get stalked more.
Yeah, for sure.
It already happened once, although they were not able to find anything significant. Just jokes on them.
Yeah, man. So you said this. You posted that, and it was your friends from back in the day that were.
It was one friend from graduate school that I had spent a lot of time with at the LGBT center on campus, which directed 17-year-olds to the testosterone taco truck around the corner where they could get prescriptions, with state funding. This was a state-funded school doing that.
Was it a little truck?
It was a truck. It was a truck that came around.
Oh my God.
And you could just go on and, get your cannabis testosterone card after an hour. I mean, they didn't give you the testosterone. You still had to go fill the prescription. But if you wanted testosterone, you didn't want to tell your parents and you didn't want to see a real doctor, you could just go to the T truck. And so this was someone that I knew through that who was trans man. Someone else that I knew because her friend overdosed in front of my house. And I went out and helped after they turned the paramedics away like idiots because they were cishetes. They didn't like the cishet paramedics that they sent. Like, dude, you were about to die.
What? Oh my God.
Oh,
Do they just think their whole reality is like all them? Like all people like them? I find that to be very hateful.
That person
Like,
was a trans man who'd gotten the hysterectomy and mastectomy and been on testosterone for like 10 years at that point. Just, yeah.
I mean, now who is excluding and not being inclusive? Like, you're gonna turn away an ambulance because they're not what you are. You being serious? Like,
oh, it was. I didn't go downstairs until after, like, I saw the lights and I looked outside and this dude was like, and like drooling and saying he couldn't walk or couldn't sit down, and the paramedics came and they like talked to him for a bit, and then they said, no, I'm fine, I don't want to go with you, and then they left, and then they were still in front of my house, and he was like, I can't move, and drooling, and like this posture is never a good sign. It's never a good sign. You see something like that. So yeah.
Wait, but they literally turned away the ambulance. Did this? Are you serious? Did they say that? Why they turned away the ambulance?
About the cissets? Yeah, yeah, they did. That was another something they said, because I was on the second floor just looking down watching it.
It doesn't sound very inclusive.
He had a test the next day, and so he had taken twice his normal Adderall dose and then chewed some instant release to learn faster. So
that sounds bad.
anyway, but yeah, no, they did turn that away. I don't know why. I mean, to be fair, the paramedics were muscly, but you kind of want that in a paramedic, don't you?
I know. I'm like, what?
So it's very very weird.
Sorry, not to focus on that. I was just trying to see if that was what they actually turned him away for, because it doesn't sound inclusive to me. It's just the double standards and hypocrisy is always through the roof, I feel like.
We're going to exclude ourselves from the word mother because we don't like to be associated with you gross females. And we're going to make up a new term. And then you gross females are now included under that term, whether you like it or not. We're just not going to mention you because you're gross females. We don't want to center you. We've got to center us. The non-female females, the better females, the more important females. Most oppressed
the ones
females.
that look better, do it better. Oh God, it's hilarious.
I have one. I think I forgot if I had already uploaded it or set it to upload. But it was this woman talking about how we need to remove this question from every language. She started with just like what, and the question was, are your children boys or girls? And her response, apparently deliberately to make people uncomfortable, she said, was to say 2 girls and 1 non-binary, which makes so much sense, because girl is apparently a gender term. Like, you wouldn't say I've got two femmes and a non-binary. So why would you say I've got 2 girls and a non-binary? It doesn't make any sense. And then went on to say that the non-binary child was brilliant in that they had discovered a way to grow up without stereotypes. It's like, what if can we not put those on the girls? Is being a girl volunteering for stereotypes? Is that how it works? We want it again. Do you actually have those conversations with you in front of your daughters, your other daughters?
It's so weird. I'm like, you don't have to be a stereotypical like anything, man. Like
not everyone's 100% female or 100% male. There's a gender spectrum. What are you saying? It's incoherent. They don't actually separate sex and gender. They just have this saying that sex is not gender, so that they have a belief that they mentally separate sex from gender, but they obviously don't. They obviously don't actually separate them in their beliefs, which is why they keep saying stuff like that. So it's so strange what they believe about their beliefs in the contrast with what they actually believe.
Which is why they don't want to debate, because they would fry their brain. They wouldn't be able to. I just don't understand these people can live a healthy life in any way mentally.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hearing you talk about your friends or people that you know or have seen, you keep like flubbing on the she or he. I'm like, it's a disaster.
I'm very motivated. Even when I'm very, very motivated, I cannot keep them straight. I'm not good with pronouns in either direction. For a lot of reasons. One is that I speak several languages, and so I just kind of stopped caring so much about syntax, because I used to just, for a number of reasons, it's I can if I'm focused, but in connected speech, I will make errors, like speech errors, and I perhaps make them more commonly than others. But clearly, it's hard. It's hard to keep it straight in either direction. I even when I'm extremely motivated. So if I'm extremely motivated and I'm attempting to use them in line with my beliefs, why can't I?
Yeah.
Why would anybody be better than me? I'm pretty good with words, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can't do it, even when I want to, even when I'm able to do it in accordance with how I see the world, then they're like, oh, well, you're doing it on purpose. Like, no, I'm still not. I'm still not doing it on purpose.
I
They
found that
continue
too.
to not be, no matter which way.
Yep. That was
Just
one of the
be
first
fair,
things.
Stop making inferences.
Yep. That's when I realized it was also dangerous and like such a deliberate destruction of reality and language. I was talking about some woman who's trying to be a man. Just I would like record myself on Instagram and I listened to it and I didn't even notice that I had called her a he. I didn't even notice it until I like listened to it again and I was like, holy shit, I didn't even catch myself. Which was scary to me that I just couldn't state reality because the visual of looking at that woman when I was talking about it, she looks like more male for sure. So it's fucking with my brain where I called her a he. I personally just don't like being deceived. I don't want to deceive anyone else. I don't like that.
Not violate. There's Grice's maxims, which are there's 4 conversational maxims, and it's kind of like a theory of how conversations evolve based on the speaker. So one, for instance, is the Grising maxim of quality, which is that you don't give information that you know to be false. That's kind of an implied agreement if we're having a conversation. So therefore, if you do give information that's that you know to be false and I know to be false, then I can make an inference about why. That's called an implicature. So the inference might be you're trying to deceive me. The inference might be it's a joke. The inference might be something else. Then there's quantity. Don't give too much information. There's relevance. Don't give information I don't care about. There's some other one too. There was the 4th one.
Is this what you learned in language class? It sounds absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, this was Linguistics 101.
Wow.
So it was pretty eye-opening when I first encountered it.
That sounds 100%.
Manner. Be clear, brief, and orderly. Avoid obscurity and ambiguity. And so Judith Butler violates the maxim of whatever.
Do they even still teach this in school? Because it seems like it's damning to like their whole language system.
Do they even still teach Grice's? I mean, they must. It's very, very significant in linguistics.
I know, but like I feel like a language class like that, Linguistics 101, would kind of be damning evidence of why pronouns and this whole mess is like
I would
not
be really
lining up
curious
with
to
it.
see how linguistics professors are dealing with it, because I imagine a lot of them haven't connected the dots yet. I feel like my work on they is perhaps not something that other people have replicated to really think about, because we're not supposed to look too closely. It's the sacred cow, it's just kind of worship and then back away slowly with your eyes averted.
Can't question it. Bad.
Yeah. So for instance, when you say they as a singular or try to use it and to say that it's an entity that is neither he nor she, but is still animate somehow, that you end up creating the implicature that either there's or it can use the speaker hears it as there's multiple people, or that the speaker doesn't know. The listener hears either that the person denotes that there's multiple people or connotes that the speaker doesn't know. And the speaker not knowing is the implicature of the speaker violating the maxim of quality. Quality being there's only one person you're referring to, but you use they. So what's the implicature? Why did you break that maxim on purpose? You broke the maxim on purpose to communicate, I don't know who they are. They're over there. So there's kind of like a verbal distance, but it's not because they is actually denoting someone who's neither he nor she. Yeah. So there's no situation where they can refer to a single person and not create that implicature. There's just no way to do it, which means they will have to be canceled constantly. Canceling it. No, they're just a they. Just memorize it. It's not.
Yeah, I was following you.
People will then try to figure out who's a they based on appearance, try to figure out what's the same about non-binary people, which is of course not what they want, which is why it's set up to make you wrong, because it naturally inspires you to do the thing that they've also forbidden you from doing. Don't sin, original sin. Sorry, too bad. 10% of your income is the point.
Non-binary is them or they.
Oh, if God, they want. Pronouns don't equal gender.
Right?
Just because I'm not binary doesn't mean I don't use all pronouns.
Oh my God, it's wild. It's just, I just don't get it. I always think of this scenario in my head of being at a party with 10 people who all have those pronoun things. Imagine that you're drinking or smoking weed, or whatever, or even being sober. How in the hell?
I can't. I'm sorry.
How the hell?
Even being sober, you want me to imagine? No.
how do they function? I mean, are they not constantly like living in, I feel like these people, we're talking about the I forgot what it's called, but like the sh and he, whatever, when they get older and they can't hear that.
Yeah, they'll lose the ability to hear the difference in he and she, because high frequency pitch is lost first with age related hearing loss.
I feel like these people are living in a hyper state of like, I'm going to catch you. Like,
some of them are, yeah.
I mean, I feel like a lot of them are. I feel like the majority of them
They're
are.
mentally ill. They're mentally ill.
Yeah, it is a serious
preoccupation with controlling others, monitoring others, being self-conscious.
Is it OCD? Do you think it's some of it? I feel like it's some of it a real, yeah.
I feel like sometimes it, might be BPD, something like they're anxious about being abandoned, so therefore they want to make sure everyone is doing these rituals to show them I won't abandon you because look how much I care.
Great point.
I think it's also very biased towards people, as I mentioned, who have high oral functioning, like their mouth works. They have high cognitive functioning, high linguistic processing, so they tend to be young. They tend to be younger people, healthier people, college people. Those are the people that are going to be best at memorizing everyone's pronouns at the party and using them correctly. Most people, as we age, we don't have as much ability because either we're distracted by other stuff or you do have age-related decline as you get older. So these policies are also inherently ageist. They'll never not be ageist. So
I love how their own ideas contradict one of their other umbrella peoples. Like, I feel like no matter what, it's something's going to contradict another group within that umbrella. Like what you just said, ageist.
Yeah,
it's just, yeah.
And they just don't think about it. They don't really care about protecting other people's civil rights because in their mind, their civil rights are already protected. It's like, yeah, but they can be unprotected if you try to enforce things that conflict with that. But they have a religious belief that gender Jesus wouldn't have given them such feelings if there weren't a way to make it work. So even though they have no practical way of getting from here to there, they just feel like if we just put it in the law, it'll magically work.
It almost sounds like
immediate problems.
Yeah, it almost sounds like you're talking about young people, and they just don't have the like cognitive I'm being
life experience.
I'm joke here. Yeah, it sounds very like a young person doesn't have that full understanding, whatever the proper term is for it. What would you call that? Where it's like they haven't lived enough of life. You just haven't. Your brain
haven't interacted. Like their interactions have been peers, so they're young people, or have been employees of a school, meaning they're somewhat functional. Or they get to college and again, it's still peers and high functioning adults working as professors, and they just don't have. They can ignore the person that's begging. They don't have to think too much about whether that person can keep up with pronouns because in their mind, that's not really a person. Like as you get older, I mean, ideally it happens when you're younger and younger, but I do feel like there's a maturation process where you realize that other people are actually different from you, and they count. They still count even though they're not in your social group. And I think a lot of them really, they've especially with this nonsense, have embraced the idea that outgroup people are bad and we don't need to think about them because they're bad. If they wanted to be treated well, they would have come into the group, but they're not. So they're bad.
So true.
Whereas I've worked with people across the lifespan. I've worked with people various levels. And I'm trained to assess people's neurological levels and to make predictions accordingly and to not make things too hard for them. Because that's the idea of therapy, is that it's challenging but not too challenging. Otherwise, no progress is made. So you have to figure out where they're starting and then how fast they can go. And it's like it's a very diverse community. It turns out very, very diverse. And we can't have a policy that marginalizes people on the basis of the fact that they aged or they got sick or they're undergoing chemotherapy, for instance. That's going to make it harder to keep up with these expectations, even if you could in the past. And so if you're in a workplace and there's only one trans person, they might get very certain every time. Or if someone just decides to harass you, they could just lie and go to the boss and be like, he's called me she 100 times,
Oh, for sure.
There's
absolutely.
No verification.
Which again is more control of a situation. I mean, that's a lot of control. That's a lot of, it's like crazy amount of power that doesn't, like, no one should have that. It's yeah.
At first class citizenship, they're being elevated and being seen as these wise oracles because they have all this insight and they're two-spirit and whatever. My practice management software, I get so annoyed every time I open it because it's got a box for legal gender, which includes male, female, female to male to female, non-binary, and other, which I don't think most of those are legal genders. I don't even know what a legal gender is. Pretty sure those first two are sex terms.
Yeah.
And then
What
under
was this
that, it's like,
for?
it has preferred gender. This is my practice management software for work.
Okay.
And
God
then
almighty.
under legal gender, it has like preferred gender, and that has like 9 options, one of which is two-spirit, which also annoys me every time I see it. Like, I don't need to be keeping track of this. I'm sorry. I don't.
Yeah,
I don't.
exactly.
I'm not going to ask somebody if they're two-spirit.
Well, you're supposed to
Obviously I don't discriminate, but like
right.
I don't need to bring it up necessarily.
No,
I also
yeah,
don't bring up religious beliefs in general unless they want to
yeah,
bring it up and talk about it, but it's
yeah,
usually not relevant. And so I wish I could delete that.
right. God, 100%.
I have thoughts about the term two-spirit. I get that some people identify with it, but I have strong thoughts about that.
You want to dig into it real quick?
Sure. You can't condense 2 continents and 15,000 years worth of thinking on the subject of sex and however you want to define gender into an English term that people at a convention one weekend came up with in 1990 and say like, well, this is how they all thought about it. And then and all of there's a bunch of stuff on TikTok where it's just like, or elsewhere too, that's all before colonization, we never had any problems with accepting gay people or trans people or this or that. And I'm like, really? In 15,000 years? Because every other continent seemed to develop homophobia. I don't know how this continent managed to escape that. It seems to be a pretty universal human problem. We have to actively work against all the time. Like, so it's just, I find it to be very infantilizing of Native cultures, very whitewashing, very supportive of the people who want to say that Native peoples had no idea about the sex binary. It's like, so much of the culture that I'm familiar with that spawned me. It doesn't make sense without the recognition that males are not females, because it's matriarchal, and so much is about ensuring that the power stays with women and mothers, and the property and lineage is traced through that line, and that things are better when women are very, very well supported during pregnancy and birth, and trusted with those things and taught, and when that information shared. So you can't come in and tell me that they didn't see a difference, that it was just like random. They were just like humping rocks and hoping for the best. Like, it's just like these are societies, many of which were very much on par with Rome, with any other major civilization. So it's
It was a made-up term. That's hilarious. 1990.
It's from 1990. So it's basically a group of modern trans activists got together and made it up. And supposedly some of them were representatives of indigenous cultures, which is, whatever. I don't care. I don't care if Missouri, Kansas, and Kentucky get together and make up a term. I'm not going to have to adopt it just because I'm also an American.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care what term they thought of. Obviously, the reasoning was poor. And initially, it was supposed to replace a different term, bear dash. I think I'm pronouncing it right, which was a term for, I think pederast would be the best synonym in English.
I've heard of that. I don't know what that is though either.
Pederast is like a pedophile. It's specifically a person that with boys. A man
so
who
two-spirit.
Boys. It was supposed to replace two-spirit, and it doesn't seem to mean that that's really a good thing.
Wait, hold on. Two-spirit is related to what now? Did you pedophilia?
The justification for coining the term two-spirit was that the main term supposedly for homosexual Native American would be was bear dash, which also meant specifically a man who sleeps with boys.
Oh my God.
It's, I assume, a French term that was applied for some reason. So that was like, for some reason, a common term that they wanted to replace.
So what you're saying is there's hints of pedophilia within the transgender cult. Okay. Checks out. Just a little bit.
They're not really children. They're gendered souls that come into this world with a mission and really, really want to talk about their genitals with adults a lot. That's actually like what they love. It's just, we need to encourage that at all costs. How you feel about your genitals today, child? You want me to cut them up?
Oh my God, yeah, John Money. Lord. And then they say that we obsessively talk about genitals. It's so weird. It's so
projection.
Oh, massive. That's all they do.
We wouldn't be if it wasn't for it.
Yeah. I'm like, what are you talking about? This is all happening because of you and what you do. Like,
I had saw someone complaining that we were demanding that doctors inspect the genitals of children. Like, doctors? Really? Doctors now can't inspect the genitals of children? It's like, we're just gonna ignore them because that's haram. So we can't. Huh?
I'm just what the fucking. I'm just like, what?
Like this is what happens when you have like theocracies that say that male doctors can't treat female patients, and then you don't let the females go to medical school. You just believe what the Taliban status quo was back in the day.
Yep. Straight up.
It's really bad for women when women are discouraged from sharing information about female biology, which happens when you propagandize young girls that they don't have something called female biology that they can predict a trajectory for. And I don't know. Also, teen pregnancy is a huge issue. You can't tell children that male and female are the same and are not predictable,
right?
And not expect teen pregnancies to happen.
Exactly. You can't. It's just they're ignoring reality at every front.
But yeah, no, it's
Lordy Almighty. Well, I mean, we could definitely rant forever. I don't want to keep you forever though. Is there anything else you wanted to like discuss, or I mean,
just keep checking out my YouTube videos.
Yeah. I don't even know if you were on YouTube when I interviewed you last time. So what's your YouTube URL?
In the 1 minute. Oh, it's TT Exulansic is the name of the channel on YouTube, which TT is for TikTok. It's also for titty.
Oh. I was wondering what that was.
Because the TT looks like a crying eyes. Like
yeah. Correct. Yep.
It just works. It's a sign.
Nice. Yeah.
But otherwise, yeah, I'm enjoying that. Some people have been bugging me to start writing, so I think started outlining it'll be kind of like a parent's guide to this nightmare.
Oh, excellent. Wow.
Reasons for this to not work. Like here's a quick rundown of all the horrible things that will happen in these surgeries.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna encourage you to do that too. That sounds excellent.
Different. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like I've got most of the ideas already developed. It's just a matter of writing them down, which YouTube actually helps because it auto transcribes, so then I can just cut and paste.
Exactly. Oh yeah, that's so true. Wow. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I love hearing your experiences, your scientific, smart as hell breakdowns of everything. It's wonderful. I could talk to you forever. Keep doing what you're doing. I mean, you do it in such a, again, brilliant, funny, and logical way. It's awesome. I love your work, and I'm glad you're starting to do this stuff on YouTube. You're definitely reaching people, and that's excellent. So don't stop, please.
A lot of letters. It's always surprises me.
Wow. Oh yeah.
Reach out and find it very significant. And I'm on Patreon too. So if you want, anyone wants to support me on Patreon, it's patreon.com/Exulansic as well.
Awesome. So, yay.
Patreon.com/Exulansic.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. I really appreciate it. We'll have to talk again at some other point, man.
Yeah. I'll be in touch. Take care.
Yes. All right. Bye, Missy. Hey, if you got anything out of this video, if you've enjoyed my podcast at any point in time, if you learn anything, show your support by donating to my PayPal. It would mean the world to me. I really appreciate all the support, donations, and purchases from my shop on my website, which is lindsayplatoshenart.com/shop. You can buy some handmade goodies. So go shop, fill them baskets. As always, thank you for supporting my work, and take it easy.